Uncle Ron and stuff inside a Treblab HD77. And this is what it looks like, sort of. I got labels on it that you wouldn't normally have, but anyway, getting inside of it. Why would you get inside of it? There's really only one reason, and that is if you want to replace the lithium ion batteries in it. And in my particular case, even when it was plugged into the charger, it would you would turn it on and the LED lights would flash green and yellow and whatever. And if you unplugged it, it would not turn on at all. So that to me indicated I got a bad battery pack. Now I had bought this refurbished off of Amazon, so it only came with a 90-day warranty, and I've had it for I think almost 8 months or something like that, 7 months. So it's out of warranty, and I got nothing to lose. I'm pretty sure the battery pack is bad, but if you look on the website for these things, and they sell a lot of these apparently, um, they don't sell a replacement battery. It's not. It says it's not meant to be replaced by a user. That is, you throw this whole thing away when the battery pack is dead. And at the best, the battery pack lasts maybe 5 years. Well, it didn't last that long for me. The other thing I found interesting about this, on the advertisements, it says it has a 5600 milliamp hour battery. I found the one in here is only 2600 milliamp hour battery, and physically a 5600 milliamp hour battery will not fit in this device. So something's wrong somewhere. Now it was refurbished, but I doubt that Amazon replaced the battery pack in here. So the only reason you would go into this thing is if you want to try to replace the battery. Now I had no idea if the battery is even replaceable on this particular device. It might have been soldered into the circuit board. I had no idea, but I figured I'd give it a try. So looking at it, if you have one, you don't see any screws anywhere. I mean, this was built and it's advertised as a portable uh, lithium battery powered Bluetooth speaker, waterproof. That's what it's advertised as. And if you look at it, you don't see any screws. You say, well, it's all glued together. I don't know. How do you get into it? And that's what I'm going to show you. The real question is on the battery pack, and I'll show you when I get to that. It does, in fact, have a 2-cell lithium ion battery with a short pigtail cable on it that plugs into the circuit board, which appears it can be replaced. The problem I'm having is finding a real replacement for that battery. Now, it appears to be a standardized sort of size, but um, there's some sort of regulation involved, and that the batteries that are put in these devices were manufactured only to be put in these devices and not sold separately. And the main reason, I think, is they do not include a thermal overload protection. Lithium batteries can get hot and start fires, so most ones, real ones, have a built-in thermal shutoff. If they get too hot, the circuit board is alerted and it shuts the power down. That's the end of it. It won't charge it anymore. It won't use it anymore. This one does not have that. The battery pack in here, and it does have one, does not include that. Now, what it does, it has a separate thermistor a temperature measuring uh, device, if you will, element that changes its ohmage based on temperature. And the circuit board reads that, and if the thermistor says, and it's located right next to the battery pack, if it says it's too hot, it shuts everything down. Okay. I think that's the reason that there's a general ban on selling replacement packs for these type devices. These are meant as appliances, and when they don't work anymore, you throw them away. And I abhor that sort of mentality. I understand it was waterproof and all that. That's objective. It's not meant to be repaired or ever even taken apart. It was assembled. This is a mechanical design engineering marvel. Somebody spent a lot of time working on the mechanical design, the structure of this particular device. It's not overly electronically complicated. There's really only one circuit board. Um, but mechanically, I don't even know how, I don't know how it was really assembled. If it was, I don't know how a machine could have assembled it. It must have had some humans involved. But anyway, this is going to be about taking it apart. And again, it's a interesting problem to get to because of there's no visible screws anywhere. Looks totally sealed together. So the first thing you're going to deal with is this hanger thing, which sets over the top, and you'll see that. And I've seen one other video on YouTube where the guy took it completely apart, but he wound up breaking this, getting it off. And I understand that problem. I will try to show you um, this particular outer shell has, there are tabs. I always have trouble with the camera. There are tabs. Here's one tab. I can feel them if I run my finger around. Here's another tab. There are tabs on the inside here. And in the middle, you can see there are tabs that go into the body of it. And it has tabs again on this lower ring. So this thing sits over top of the whole thing. And using a flat blade box cutter, I was able to run around this particular surface and began to pry it up. Got one tab loose, and then I slowly moved around and pried and pried and pried until I got this top loose. There's no particular tabs right here. They're all inside of here, and there are 1, 2, 3 of them in here. And they're located, approximately, let's see, here, there, and one in the middle. So it's like where I have my 3 fingers showing here. 1, 2, and 3 over here. Okay. Same way with the bottom. And you see these in here. So once you get this top piece loose, you can slowly, again, pry and get these tabs to pop out, and then slowly pry off the bottom. And you have to do it slowly. This is a pretty flexible piece of plastic, a decently well-made piece of plastic. But if you honk on it too much, you could break it. You can't flex it that far. You got to get these tabs out of here. Okay, I got it off without breaking it, as you see. All right, so with that off, you still don't see any screws anywhere, but you do see the top here. And when you take this apart, you're going to encounter, you don't really see any glue or caulking on this particular device, although it may have been there and I just scraped it off with my fingernail. But what you will find everywhere else is some sort of glue or sealant. Again, it's supposed to be waterproof, so that's why they got it everywhere. Now, there are screws, as you would have to imagine. The top and the bottom are identical in mechanical design, literally. And so once you get the one off, you can deal with the other. I'm going to show you how to do the top. First of all, this set down, this has a dual purpose. One is you can put a lanyard in the bottom of it. It's like a rigid carrying thing, but it also holds pieces in place. And on the top, what you want to do, first thing is there's a black ring here, and you use your flat blade and you can literally prise it up and get it to come out like this. And it will have some glue on the underside, but you can get it out as a single piece. It just sets down in on top like that. Okay. Now you've got that piece off. Now you see this rubbery, I can push on it, a rubbery thing here at the top. That is also just sitting in there, but it's sitting in a small trench. I use a flat blade here to start it up, and this has been glued down in, so you sort of have to peel it out gradually, but it will come out like this. And again, you see that the underside, I can't show it very well. Get up here. The underside has a this outer ring has a small notch in it, which fits down in, and you sort of have to push it down in. And again, if you want to waterproof it, you're going to have to put caulk back on along the edge of this. But it just sets down in there. So now it sort of looks like this. You still don't see any screws. You see a white ring. That is the LED ring that flashes. Now there is a cable attached to it. You can, again, it's sort of glued down. You can pry it up and you'll see right here, right there. That's where the cable attaches. And inside of here, you'll see the cable sticking out. It came in. And the trick here is that this particular ring, the LED ring, you can see that black portion there. You slide the cable into that black portion, and then you push the black end to the socket, and that's what latches the cable in place, the flat ribbon cable. Okay, to unconnect it, you have to pull this black down, and you can do so on either side with your fingernails and unlatch the cable and pull it out of there. And here is the cable. It can only go really in one way, where the connector, right there, there's the cable. Okay, so once you take this LED ring out, and again, the mechanical engineering, there is inside of here only one place. You see that connector has to sit in a slot in the plastic up here at the top to fit down flat. So if you were to put it back together, you have to make sure that connector is sitting exactly in the spot it's intended to sit in. And when I pulled this LED ring out, there are, if you'll notice, some holes, like right here. There are LEDs, but then there are also some holes. And there are, and if you look at it, I can't show you very well, but there are little pieces of plastic sticking up where those holes are out of this top black piece here, okay? And they don't stick up very far, and this LED ring fits down over them, and then somebody put touched them with a soldering iron or put some glue on them, and that sort of held the LED ring in place. It's really not needed. Once you've got it in the right slot in the connector on the LED ring, in its channel there, then everything is fits down on top and it's not going to move. So that was, I think, primarily just a waterproofing technique. Anyway, with the LED ring removed, you now can see there are, oh, I picked up a little screw. There are 4 screws. Okay, the last video terminated early. With the LED screws removed uh, at the top, you now have to do the same, repeat the same process at the bottom, and they're identical. You take out that little black ring to start with. Then you remove this guy who's just shoved down in there and grooved in. You take out the LED ring that is sort of set over top of these pins that are on the base of this guy. You take those, and you have to, so I use the knife just sort of trim the top off of. You can't pry this straight off. You have to deal with those holes in the LED ring. You can see a couple holes here. Those have little pins sticking up out of this plastic cover piece. And there's a dab of glue on them or something, and you have to kind of scrape it enough so you can gently pry this LED ring off. Again, I'll emphasize that connector has a place in the top here that it has to fit into. And once it's in there, it'll go right down over these holes that are in the mounting. Okay, and once you got the LED ring out, you now find 4 screws. You have to take those out. Now you take the bottom piece off. So I have the top piece off, the screws removed from the top, and I have the bottom piece off and the screws removed from it. Now you can take and slide. If you'll notice, this particular outer piece, it's a separate piece of plastic. I noticed that to start with. And what you can do is you can slide it off like this, okay? And now we're down to this. I've taken the screws out of the top, the screws out of the bottom, and you see that it is split in half. You see where it's a case, it's a cylinder with split down the middle. Okay, so now you'll see on the side over here, lots of screw holes. There's 1, 2, 3 screws right there. And there are, let's see, 4 screws. Here, actually, there's 6 on this side. Lots of little screws down deep in the holes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they help hold one side of the case to the other. Okay, there's 6 of those screws on this side. All right, so you have to take those out. And you need a little teeny weeny screwdriver to do that. If you don't have one, you're going to have trouble. This is a little teeny screwdriver that I use. That isn't the one, that's a flat blade. But anyway, I have a Phillips, and they are Phillips screws, to take those screws out. Okay, so I had those screws out, and I still couldn't get the shell to come apart. I had screws out of the top, which I thought were holding it all together, and I had screws out of the bottom, which I thought were holding it all together. And I had screws out of the side here. All these, I guess there's 6 of them. And it still wouldn't come apart. Okay, so what I found is that um, there is one more piece that you have to remove. And it is this rubbery piece for the buttons. You see it's in place now. So what I had to do was sort of put a flat blade underneath of it and pull it up and away to expose this particular circuit board, which is the button board, okay? And this was just sort of glued in place. It's got yucky, waterproofing and glue. Again, it's supposed to be a waterproof unit. Now, when I did that, I found 6 more screws holding this circuit board in place. And they were keeping the case together. Now, once I took the screws out of that circuit board and lifted it up like this, get out of there. This is what I found. Here's the button board, and you see the cable, flat ribbon cable that goes to it down into the box. I didn't have to remove that cable. I did have to unhook the ones at the top to the LED ring because the rings won't fit through the top and you can't. All right, now with that uncoupled, the case will now come open. Okay, and what you'll see is, I get this out of the way. What you'll see, which is really of importance, I got to get it in the right direction here. Okay, you see at the bottom, you see that big blue device. You see how the speaker's set in there. You see the circuit board. Okay, the circuit board is over here. Okay, and the big blue device at the bottom is, in fact, the battery pack. And I can get it, it just sits in there. It had some foam all around it. I'm going to prise it out. This is this blue guy with a cable on it, and I'm going to take it off, cable off, and it just is pushed down in there. Okay, battery pack. This is, you see the inside of it, and then this side right here, there is a small battery compartment that the battery has to fit into. So you're looking at a battery that has specific physical dimensions. Can't be too big, can't be too small, it won't fit in there, but it does have a cable on it. So from some sense it was designed to be replaced. It was not circuit board wired or anything like that directly to the board. I told you it only has 2 connectors on it. So it doesn't have a built-in thermistor or temperature monitoring. What you'll see in here, and it's this little teeny connector right here, goes over to a area that's kind of black. I'm sure there's a thermistor, so 2-wire thermistor, glued into the back chassis of this, and it monitors the temperature inside that compartment, and if it gets too hot, it says the lithium battery is getting too hot and shuts everything down. So this is the battery, and okay, I've opened it up and I found, yeah, it's got a battery pack, and it looks like you've seen battery packs before. This is what it looks like. Okay, so how do I proceed from here? The idea was I don't want to throw it away. I got a bad battery. I want to replace it. So I'm going to set this aside and just concentrate on the battery. Now, you won't be able to read it, but this all was covered in foam. And I kept scratching it off till I could find some sort of marking. And there you'll see, not very well, but it says, it's got a N, Y, Y, or M, whatever, but it says 18650, 7.4 volts, 2600 mAh, milliamp hours. The 19 I don't know about, but then it says 24 watt hours. Okay, and those are the important things. Okay, I'd found the battery pack, but lithium batteries are normally 3.7 volts. Depending on the circuitry used, this battery could be at 3.7 volts or 7.4, like this one, or some other voltage. And the milliamp hours at 2600. The normal, what this is two lithium ion cells coupled together, literally in series, one like you would put on a flashlight, one battery right after the other, to get 7.4 volts. Okay, and a 26 milliamp hour rating is not what is in the advertisement. It says 5600. It's only 26. A 2600 milliamp hour battery would have to have 4 of these individual cells. Here, look at it. There's one cell and another cell. There are 2 lithium ion cell batteries hooked in series in this particular battery. Okay, now the crux of the problem. The number that I read off to you, the 18650, I have no idea what that is. That is a designation for the physicality of this particular pack. It implies that it's using a standard, this is a standard length of a lithium ion battery cell, and this is the thickness of a standard lithium battery cell. Okay, so the problem is that the Consumer Product Safety Commission, or whoever, I got that the right way, are saying that that particular model, that particular number, if it's listed as an 18650, it's an aftermarket. It was built for the manufacturer, not for the consumer. So the guys who built this, the Treblab, who built the product, bought these in mass quantities from some producer with the intent to go in their product and not ever to be replaced, not ever to be, when it's gone, you throw the whole thing away. Treblab does not sell replacement batteries. You can't buy one from them. So I started looking around, and it is relatively difficult to find anything has a 18650 label on it, because the caution and concern that's been sent out there, I'm not sure it's illegal to sell them or buy them, but they're not easy to come by. And the other issue is the 2600 milliamp hours. So I have a rather standard looking lithium battery pack, and when I look around, I can find something that might work. I may have to change the plug off this end, or but I think I can get close. The problem is that most of them want to be 25, 20, 18, 17, 25, $35. I really want to invest, buy one of these. It may not fit properly. It may not have the right connector on it. I really want to put that much money into the thing I paid $39 for to start with, although because it was refurbished. I didn't pay the full retail price. Do I really want to do that? I don't know yet. So this is like part one of inside of Treblab HD77. What in the end, I've tried to show you, you can take it apart. It has a lot of screws, but you have to find them. You got to go slow. And that inside of the device, there is literally a replaceable lithium-ion battery pack. You can see it has a plug on it. It was wrapped in foam. It was a nice touch, but audio. Um, but you can do it. Just as it worthwhile to do so. Also, I'm now proclaiming that I see this battery is 7.4 volts. You have to have one of those, which means it's a 2-cell battery hooked in series. Again, it could be one right after the other, like goes in a flashlight. That's what series means. That's how you get 7.4 volts out of it. Okay. Or 7.2, whatever it is. It's clearly marked on the battery. And it's only a 2600 milliamp hour battery. If you were to look at 5200 or some other higher level, it'll have 4 cells, and that physically will not fit into the HD77. There's just not enough room in there for it. I don't know who made the mistake of saying it had 5200 milliamp hour battery in it, but you cannot get something in this size, in this configuration, with 5200 milliamp hours. It's not made, it can't work. It has to be 4 of these or some other type of technology or something else. Okay, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do. One of the things that I do have in my particular option, in my case, is I had someone gave me some RC race cars or devices, and they all have similar battery packs. I have not checked them yet to see the voltage on them and their actual configuration and ways of length and thickness. But I may be able to use one of those. I'm going to have to check and see. And if they don't, then I have to make a decision whether I'm really going to try to buy one of these off of eBay or third party. The Chinese Alibaba or whatever that website is does list these things. You have to get them from China, of course. So it gripes me no end. The other thought I had was that I would drill a hole in the box, bring the wire, put a long wire on this guy, and leave the battery outside the box, okay? So I could replace it in the future if I go to do so. But anyway, at this point in time, I'm not sure what I'm going to do about the battery. But I do know it's 7.4. I do know that it is in a replaceable configuration. It's not soldered in. So, and you can get in the device without breaking it all to pieces. That's enough for today. I'll try to get back if I ever replace the battery. Okay, bye-bye.